Hey everybody, Peach here. Today we're reviewing the Keppi Fitness Bench 5000. And before we get into the good and the bad of the product, let's take a look at the features. All right, so the Keppi Fitness Bench 5000 is an FID bench, meaning it can be used in the flat position, in the incline position, and in the decline position. And unlike some FID benches, it can be stored vertically. So the back pad has 10 different positions it can be set to, all the way from 90 degrees down to 0 degrees. And unlike most pop pins, this is also a tightening and loosening pop pin, so you can really lock it into place. The same is true for the front seat pad, which has 6 positions, which go from -30 all the way up to 20 degrees. Okay, now you'll notice this big gap here. Well, this is a zero gap bench, although that is a trademark term by Rep Fitness, so they can't say that. But this is essentially a cheap clone of the Rep Fitness Blackwing. So there are 2 guide rods underneath this front seat. You can tighten or loosen it, and then snug the seat pad against the back pad. Now this zero gap feature is a pro and it is a con. It's a pro in that you might have more comfort because there won't be a piece of metal right here digging into your butt. But it's a con in that you have to adjust this on the guide rods in order to adjust this pad. So there's more setup time with each adjustment. So you need to know that going in. Now the other feature is this little thing here, which looks like this. This enables you to store it vertically. You take that out and you add this. Okay, this is a foot holder, which you can add right here. Now tighten this down, and now we can do all sorts of decline bench exercises. Okay, so the bench is 60.25 inches long, and it is 32.5 inches wide. The distance from the floor to the top of the pad is 18 inches, which I must note is outside of the International Powerlifting Federation specification, so you might want to pass on this if you are a powerlifter as opposed to a bodybuilder. The pad length is 53 inches, and it is 12 inches wide in the center, but it is tapered, so it is 9 inches wide here on the ends. It is 2¼ inches thick, and the stitching is quite nice. Now, as far as the density, it's pretty dense, and just for a visual indicator of some of the alternatives out there, now you can see my fingers barely sinking into the pad, which shows you how dense it is. And if I do that same test on some other benches, you can see it's kind of on par with the ATX pad, but much better than the Speediance pad. And if I do the same thing to the AB 4100, which is a grippy upholstery, the density is about the same. Now, this upholstery is not grippy whatsoever. It is very slick. Now, having pillow block bearings here on the hinge means you're going to have very smooth adjustability for years to come. Now, the bench boasts a 1,600-pound weight capacity in the flat position, which is interesting because this is 14 gauge steel, whereas other benches out there, like this Titan model, which is 11 gauge steel, which is thicker steel, boast a much lower weight capacity. So the value proposition here is simple. For only $300, you're getting features which are only offered by benches that are double the price. You're getting the zero gap feature, you're getting that leg holder attachment, you're getting extremely wide base at 32.5 inches, delivering crazy stability. You're getting an FID bench. You're getting vertical storage. All of that with 14 gauge steel. Now, 14 gauge steel is not going to be as strong as 11 gauge steel, but for 99% of you, this will be just fine. All right, now it's time for the critique. So as we go through this list, I want you to personally think, is this a forgivable shortcoming given the price tag or not? Okay, now for me personally, the $300 line is kind of my line between budget friendly and not so budget friendly. So If a bench is 300 or more, my expectations skyrocket, okay? Now, if it's 300 or less, like this one, then my expectations are gonna be different. So right off the bat, if a bench is $400, $500, $600, I expect it to be delivered in pristine condition. This one was not pristine. It was pretty good, but it did have some scratches and scrapes, and these decals were already peeling off right out of the box. I reached out to the company and they said they'd send me a replacement, but I guess they forgot. So, still waiting on that, Keppi. All right, now the feet here, the rubber feet, they do provide stability in that you ain't gonna scooch anywhere, but the problem is they can kind of come off pretty easy, okay? I wish that they were snugger on the frame. Now the bench also has these two stabilizer feet here, where if you're on uneven surface, you can unscrew one or both to get a even surface. But to me, you know, if you're advertising a 1600 weight capacity, you know, if you're using these, this is where it's gonna fail, because the threads on these tiny little bolts are certainly not gonna support 1600 pounds. So I wouldn't use that feature, especially if you're lifting heavy. All right, next critique. So on these pop pins, you need to be able to tighten or loosen them. The problem is they're so thin that it's not super comfortable to tighten or loosen them. They do put some ridges on them to get a better grip, but it'd be a lot nicer if they were just thicker and possibly knurled to really be able to tighten or loosen them easily. The other problem is, as you tighten or loosen them, the whole housing moves. So what you're gonna have to probably do is get some thread locker like this. Get the weak stuff, don't get super strong stuff. And you're probably gonna wanna put that on these threads right here, not on these threads, just on these threads right here. Let that dry for 24 hours so that when you turn this pop pin, it's not moving the entire housing. All right, next critique. So to enable vertical storage, you have to insert this little piece here on the seat pad so that it basically becomes the third leg of the tripod. Now, you can tighten or loosen this pop pin here to add or remove this. Now, I have two problems with this. Number one, there is a hole only on one side, okay? It's not on the back side. So when I want to stick this thing in, I always have to look at which side the hole's on and take an extra couple seconds to make sure I put it in the right way. If they put a hole on both sides of this end, I wouldn't have to do that. I would know it goes in this way and it doesn't matter which way I insert it. The other problem I have with this thing is when I want to take this out to add the leg attachment, what do I do with it? Wouldn't it be nice if I could stick this on something so that I wouldn't lose this? Or even put a magnet on this so I could just stick it on underneath. That would be awesome. All right, so what's the final verdict here? If you really want a zero gap bench and you can afford the Blackwing from Rep Fitness, you're probably better off buying the Blackwing. However, if you have caviar taste but a tuna fish budget, the Bench 5000 from Keppi Fitness might be the right bench for you. And to purchase this bench, you can do so by clicking on the affiliate link located down in the video description below. Shopping via that link costs you nothing extra and it helps support the channel. All right, that does it for this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to be alerted the moment the next episode drops.